And we are live. Hey, we're live here. I'm with Karan. We're analyzing his set from the last laughter party. Here we go. Let's start a playing.
Going for Karan!
Yes! That is some June energy. I love it. Wow.
Great. Okay, great. How do we feel about our opening moment?
Hopefully good. Ask them to kind of acknowledge the energy and kind of encourage it.
Yeah. Why do you say hopefully good? Are you waiting for me to externally validate you? How do you feel about it? You should be able to say I am happy with that, and I feel confident that I did a good job.
Oh, because I've been wrong before, and I'm like, oh. You're like,
no, that was.
Yeah. Then you'll give me the polite nod, let me finish, and be like, okay, this is what I think. And I was like, God damn it.
Okay. Fair enough, but I really love this opening moment. We're validating the audience. We're making sure we talk to them, so we have like a baseline, like, hey, how you guys doing? Great, thank you so much. So we didn't just walk in and go, Chucks, let me talk about Chucks. So I really like this opening moment, and we even get a secondary swell of applause that we don't have to directly pimp out. So I love that. The audience is a really great spot to sort of like get your comedy. So I think great. Well, look, we're only like 15 seconds in. The audience is like, yeah, we like this guy.
And Patricia was up here earlier bragging. Patricia, I just want you to know, I am totally small down there as well, okay?
Do you want to give context to that joke for people who weren't at the show?
Yeah, so Trish went up earlier and was kind of boasting about how small she is down there, which is obviously the opposite brag for like the male side of things. So it was just a dick joke to start the set.
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great that we're starting the set being like, hey, I've been in the room the whole night with you guys. Let me just call back all these things that you're thinking about, do my little take on them before I go into my thing. It's look. All the comedians that have gone before you, they've done all of this hard work to give these like star golden jokes in the night. It's not rude for us to go like, hey, here's my quick take on that, and to get some free legwork done by the other comedians as we also build rapport with the audience. It's a great way to get those because like, you know, as you talk to comedians and bookers and stuff, they're always like, you gotta get that first laugh. You gotta break that first laugh open or else you're fudged. Okay, yeah, then use some of the groundwork that's already been laid for you. And starting from literal zero to build a whole skyscraper, you just have to build that final floor. Stand on the shoulder of giants, you know? Just as like a thought to throw out there into the ethos. And you seem more personal. Not only does it make the first joke of yours easier, but you also seem more personable and that you've been in the room. So you get an added secondary benefit, at least from my opinion.
Right.
As a thought. Yeah. Right. Already an applause break, you know? We're 42 seconds in.
Yeah.
We've already got an applause break because so much work was already done for us with that joke. The audience already knows the context. They've already played one rung on the joke. It's just you know, I don't want to say I'm right, but hey. In addition, look, and for those watching, our show, the audience tends to be very generous, but also notice he validated the audience really well in the beginning. He basically subconsciously told the audience, I like your applause. I'm enjoying your applause. I'm letting you applause. Then when they want to sort of bid to give him his first applause break, they know they're okay to do it. They don't need to ask him, are you okay with this? They already know he's okay with that, so they can go full applause break from the get-go. So like this is where that audience training really sort of pays off. Already, we're 42 seconds in, so yeah?
Yeah, just to add to that, for anyone watching, if this concept doesn't immediately land with you, I would say just trust it for now. And like for me, it took a while for this point that William, you keep making, like the audience needs permission to laugh, because you've told me this so many times, and I've actually seen it play out, and then I've actually been able to try it and then see the results of it, and then been able to take that insight when I'm an audience member. I was like, oh, now I'm noticing when the comic just like tramples over it without realizing. I used to do it quite consciously earlier because I used to be like, I don't want to like, you know, sit and like bask in this, and I'll just play it cool. I'll just keep moving, and maybe there's like a rhythm to it and all. Like, so this concept has taken me a long time to even understand and then appreciate. So if anyone watching here is like hearing this for the first time, maybe you have to like just think about it a little more and like actually live it for it to resonate.
The band Red Hot Chili Peppers, any fans in here? Yeah, I love their music, but I mean, you've got to earn that name. Okay. Their classic song, Under the Bridge, it's about where they were found after eating Vindaloo. Listen. You can hear the pain in his voice. It's like, I don't ever want to feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way to the emergency room. Yeah. The proctologist is like, what brings you guys here? They're like, scar tissue that I wish you saw. I'm not making this up. You can Google it. Okay? Those poor guys took one bite and went, give it away now. This is all true. You can Google it. Yeah.
Okay, how do you feel about the Red Hot Chili Peppers joke?
I think it went well. I think at least I did better than last time in actually waiting for the response and like you just see like being a little more attentive to how people are responding and then waiting for, I guess, a more correct time to start the next line.
Yeah, we did a lot of great active listening things where even like pointing at the person you're reacting to, like, like listen, and it really did feel like you're using. I was like, oh yeah, he's really using that person. He's using it to set up the motivation for the next line. Like, oh, okay, yeah. And then the audience like wanted to sing the first song with you as well, which is always a fun moment. Like, oh, I'm doing stand-up, but nope, psych. Now I get to be like an actual, like real concert for a second. Like those are the things that sort of like transcend all the talking into the mic comics that will be the rest of the night. So I always love bits like that, and I love that we set up this bit of like, it's true, you can Google it. It doesn't pay off that much in the first rung, but we get so much out of that joke that look, we're in the middle. Just to point out to the audience, we're in the middle of full payoff, triple big, literal song and dance payoffs to joke number one, and we sneak in setup to another joke that we're gonna be able to use multiple times. Like that's how you do comedy efficiently. Like that's how you do it. It's a joke that's a mini joke right now, but it's also setting something up in the middle of another payoff joke. Like, great. We don't have to start from zero every time. What's happening is in the payoff period of this joke, the audience is feeling certain ways. You're responding to those feelings like, oh, it is true. You can Google it. You're just creating a dynamic that's a back and forth. And then we're planting that seed so that we can more fully play and fill with that dynamic later. But there's always ways that you can establish and react to that dynamic in big jokes. And if you can find more general words and phrases or sort of connections to make, there's ways you can do that in every big payoff. And it seems like, oh, this is just like me adding one more tag to my joke. No, psych, I'm actually planting a seed that will grow into the next big joke. But it's easier to know to do that if you've contextualized it. I mean, do you want to know what the sort of like the note of this like week and month is? It's like a deeper concept that I didn't even contextualize until this month. You want to know? Mm-hmm. Okay, so in my mind, you've heard me talk about honesty dollars before, right?
Yeah.
I have revised my position. So there are 3 pillars of honesty. There is ideological honesty, where if the joke is speaking about some truth or if the joke is clever enough, it'll hold on its own, and the audience will be like, that is true, or that is clever. However, we can get away with not being true in the bit, going to silly land, but then we have to rest on one of the other 2 pillars. The other 2 pillars are truth in the reality of the moment, which is the comic is a real thing and the audience is a real thing. So either the comic being affected by it or the audience being affected by it. For example, I can go, poopy poo-poo, am I right, guys? I mean, poop! Ideologically, that's trash. But I'm having so much fun doing it that now the joke is about me using this nonsense as an excuse to be affected by it. Or you can have ideological nonsense and use it as an excuse to play with the audience about like, yo, yeah, we all poop pineapples, right? This guy knows what I'm talking about. Right? So it doesn't matter that the source material is patently false. I'm using it to create a real dynamic with the audience. So when we go to silly land, if things aren't holding on their own, if they're too silly and the audience goes, oh, brother, if we try to purport it as true, that's fine. Lean on one of the other 2 pillars in that moment, and then it doesn't matter that it doesn't hold on its own ideologically. Wow. Because the joke isn't about the ideological truth, it's about the truth of your feelings about it or the truth of the dynamic with the audience. So you're still buying honesty dollars, even though ideologically it's bleeding honesty dollars. That make sense?
Yeah, so it's like, whatever I've said, we've said, but now we have a shared joke. We have our own inside joke or whatever, like that we both know to laugh at.
Yeah. When the audience goes, "Oh, brother," is when we silly and we try to say, "No, this is true." When we try to, then the audience disconnects from us and they go, "No, that's not true," and
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
that's not true, and I know that you know that's not true. So, oh, brother, because you're trying to get the honesty dollars from the thing itself, versus I know I'm doing something, you know I'm doing something, you know that I know I'm doing something, but you're gonna let me get away with it because I'm making this cute moment. So now I'm not trying to bleed honesty dollars from that pillar of ideological. I'm bleeding honesty dollars from me being affected by enjoying telling you the silly thing, or the honesty of this moment that I'm creating in the moment. So there are honesty dollars because it is a real moment, but the honesty dollars aren't coming from me trying to purport this false thing as true, which we all know is patently false. And this is what causes the audience to go, "Oh, brother," versus like, "Okay, let him cook, let him be silly." The ideologically pillar is about ideas and moments that aren't happening in the room. So if the ideas are clever enough, if the truth in our life is clever enough, it'll hold on its own. The other two pillars are about what's happening in this room. The real comic and their real emotions, or the real audience and our real dynamic with them. So these two pillars are making a real moment because we're dealing with actual entities that are living and breathing in this room, and the ideologically is talking about concepts and things that aren't in this room, which could hold because they could be true to life and they could be drawing from that, but they could also be completely arbitrary. But we're using them to make a truth inside of this room with a dynamic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's great. That's great food for thought as well. Yeah, something to chew on. That's great.
Yeah, it is important to note there are lots of nuances, and it will depend on the audience how much you can get away with before you have to explicitly say, like, point out your cheekiness. Like how much you can be coy will depend on the audience, which is why I always push towards being more explicit rather than coy. But there are nuances, and you can play with those levels.
Like, "Oh man, this traffic is the worst." Dude, I'm from India.
Yeah, look, that's one of those things that's ideologically more true. Like, you think New York traffic is bad? I am from India. And then people are like, "Oh, traffic in India is worse." So I don't necessarily, that's one of those jokes that would probably land even if we robotic read it, because it's coming from some truth of life, right? So ideologically, it stands on its own. We can add a personal feeling on top of it or a connection with the audience, but it holds honesty dollars on its own, so it doesn't require those to just to point out when things ideologically hold on their own as well, just as we're having this discussion, if that makes sense.
Our traffic is famous. Did you watch the documentary about it last year? No? Check it out. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Did you hear me say woo? That's me trying to activate your applause break from you. That's Daddy William in the crowd being like, "You should be doing this. Let me try to do this for you." You notice how there's it's, once again, for those watching after the fact, the audio source that's picking this up isn't the exact experience that the comedian has on stage. So these these claps could be further back in the audience, and so it could have been harder for me to hear. But you can also hear me woo because that's me saying, like, if you wanted to, this applause break could have been yours.
Did you watch the documentary about it last year?
Listen to how many different applause
check it out. It's called
vectors there
Everything
are.
Everywhere All at Once.
Do you hear like the 3-4 different applause sources? That's one of, if you wanted to, you could have pimped that into an applause break.
What could have done more than pause, nod, smile?
Sure. Yeah, let me analyze why this didn't maybe even with I could be wrong, and it could have been that like even with my woo, the audience didn't take the hint. So let's see what we might have been doing, or if that's just okay. One second.
Our traffic is famous. Did you watch the documentary about it last year? No? Check it out. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once.
If I
Okay,
could
I'm gonna
think
take
of
one
it-
guess.
Okay,
Me-
sure, yeah, go for it.
Me starting to take a walk back, just that one step back while people are laughing, I think almost gives an indication that, okay, like, we're done with this.
I could buy that.
As soon as I watched it, I was like, okay, I felt that way as an audience member right now.
Yeah, once again, this is conjecture. So that is a great theory. That's a great theory. A theory that I might have, and I'm not saying one of these is more true than the other, but a theory I might have is we did a great job of using one person of, have you heard that documentary? Oh, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And then the rest of the follow through was kind of more to them, to the rest of the audience. So it could have been the audience felt that was a more personal moment instead of something that was a shared experience. But I also like your theory. These once again, crowd dynamics are complicated and group psychology is complicated. So like, my instincts are telling me like, oh, we had at least four different applause sources. You could have turned that into an applause break. So why could, even with me trying to pimp it from inside the crowd, did it not break? those are two great hypotheses. There could be other explanations, but it's great to notice these. And if a greater pattern emerges, now we have two hypotheses. If there's another myth applause break, to be like, do any of these things hold? But I like your explanation just as much as mine.
People also complain it's too cramped here. There's no space. My wife and I want apartments.com, and she goes like, oh, these are tiny. I'm like, they're not that small. She's like, look at this floor plan. It says actual size.
Okay, great. How do you feel about that one?
Yeah, the reaction to that was too quick.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones where it's nice and silly, but we needed a little bit more lean into one of those other two pillars to really get that maybe.
Oh, right.
I think.
Because
I like
feel
the cleverness of that joke. Yes, sorry, are you?
So, because in that one, I am still reacting to what my wife said, sort of. Maybe it's not clear to me itself. Am I still in the scene, or am I now back in the room? Yeah.
Yeah, because it sort of gets metaphysical. Anytime we do an act out and we stay in this emotion of us in another time and place, we're in another time and place land. And so ideologically, if another time and place land joke doesn't land on its own, we need to come back to this room in the moment. That's when we need to break through the fourth wall, those moments, so that we can play with one of these two dynamics. So yeah, the fact that ideologically it was pushing the lens, that's definitely one of those moments we should have leaned on breaking out of the act out. Versus if it held more on its own, then you could have stayed in the follow through and then could have stayed as yourself in the scene. That's the deciding line of when you can get away with one versus the other.
Yeah, this new framing of yours is like really helping.
Okay. Before I let you go for the day, any final thoughts on any of the things that we've talked tonight, or anything else you might want to say to the people watching?
Thank you. Yeah, and thanks for all the coaching so far. This has been immensely helpful.
Great. Okay. Bye.